Let me begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people as the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and to acknowledge their elders past and present. Let me also acknowledge that this is, was and always will be Aboriginal land. I'd like to acknowledge the wonderful contributions from Senator Dodson and from Senator Malindiri McCarthy for what were very powerful presentations. Let me also acknowledge the leaders of the National Congress of Australia's First People who are in the gallery today. Thank you so much for what was a very, very moving tribute this morning, the presentation of the Redfern Statement, which I'll come to in a moment. The tragic fact is that once again the government's figures in the 9th annual Closing the Gap report have underlined our failures as a nation to move forward in any substantial way in closing the gap targets. We're still lagging behind on so many of those critical indicators, 6 of 7 unchanged. We lag way behind on the life expectancy gap, on access to justice, on employment, school attendance, basic core measures such as child mortality and life expectancy. This report is another wake-up call to the nation. Another wake-up call to the nation. Today we heard from the leaders of the National Congress of Australia's First Peoples that Aboriginal people have the solutions. And we had the Redfern Statement presented to the Prime Minister this morning. The Redfern Statement, a statement that says we need a new approach. We need to redefine the relationship between Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and government. The Redfern Statement, named after that powerful moment when Paul Keating made the self-evident yet controversial call to the nation that it was we who did the dispossessing, that this nation was founded on an act of theft, an act of dispossession. And it's important that we acknowledge that fact, that it's we, the non-Indigenous people, who have done the killing, the colonising, the discriminating and the dispossessing. That's not a black armband view of history, that's not guilt, that is justice. And that's what this is about. This is about achieving justice. So it is so critical that we look at the Redfern Statement, take it seriously, recognise that the emphasis on self-determination, which is an undisputed right in international law, has never been afforded to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in this country. And it's about time we did something to address that. It's self-evident as to why we need to act. From the moment of that Redfern Statement, we've seen report after report. The Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody, the Bringing Them Home report, reconciliation and many more, highlighting the failures that reflect the fact that this country is yet to achieve justice when it comes to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. And while Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, who first introduced the annual Closing the Gap statement, made a profound gesture when he made that apology on Parliament in the Parliament. And I was privileged to be there as an ordinary person in the crowd on the lawns of Parliament House. It was so moving and so powerful. And it was important that for the first time we put in place measures to judge how much progress we're making when it comes to closing the gap. Yet, as the former Prime Minister himself said only yesterday, that he fears another stolen generation. We're seeing child removal rates continue to increase. And we've seen a succession of government policy that is the antithesis to the statement that was made today to the Prime Minister. The paternalistic intervention into the Northern Territory. We've seen the destruction of community development employment programs. We've seen the undermining of housing policies that assist Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And of course, under this government in the 2014 budget, we saw $500 million ripped out of Indigenous affairs, and of course the controversial Indigenous advancement strategy where we're seeing so many Aboriginal people lose out to big government departments, again, with that heavy-handed, paternalistic, over-the-top response. Well, this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call. We don't have the answers. It is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have the solutions. It's tempting for us in this place to think we know best. As I said in my speech this morning, as a young medical graduate, a young GP, walking into an Aboriginal health service, I thought I knew it all. I'd read books, I'd done a course, I was going to go in there and help fix things. But if there's any one lesson I took out of that experience, it is that you must work with Aboriginal people, listen to their voices, their stories, understand that before you can do anything, and work with people. Last year I was privileged to attend the celebration with the Gurindji people of the famous Wave Hill strike. That was an act of defiance where the Gurindji people walked off the Wave Hill cattle station. They did so against the advice of governments and bureaucrats, policymakers, indeed the church. It was a sign that Aboriginal people told us loudly, clearly, we know best for us. Don't tell us what to do. And it was a significant moment. It was a moment that transformed not just the lives of the Gurindji, but also the nation. It took much more hard work, years of advocacy before we saw Gough Whitlam pour the sand into the hands of Vincent Lingiari, which should have signalled the beginning of a new way, but sadly, here we are. Limited progress in achieving what is at the heart of the Closing the Gap report, justice for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. The Prime Minister said last year we need to be making change with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, not to them. And that's exactly what Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders from across the nation are saying. People from health, justice, violence prevention, disability, the children and family sector coming together in the Redfern Statement, a statement supported by over 50 groups, Indigenous groups, non-Indigenous groups, across a wide variety of sector, a plan for engagement with government. It's an ambitious plan, but it needs to be ambitious if we are to make progress. And I urge the government and the opposition to support the schedule, the detailed plans laid out in the Redfern Statement, and to recognise that in doing so they have the full support of the Australian Greens. In the Parliament, we Greens have had a long-standing commitment to collaboration, to respect for the knowledge, to respecting the knowledge and wisdom of Aboriginal people and an Aboriginal-led approach. My colleague Senator Seward here, who has for more than a decade in this place been a proud ally and friend of the many organisations who added their names this morning to the calls for a new way forward. We know what needs to be done. There are so many things that we can do at a practical level. Delivering culturally safe, high-quality healthcare in the country. Let's prioritise getting Aboriginal people the skills, training and experience so that they can contribute to the workforce, from administration to allied health, to GPs, to obstetricians. We need more people delivering, more Aboriginal people delivering healthcare. And I know because I've seen it up close. We know that these people are the role models for their communities, that they can demonstrate what is possible, what can be achieved, and how they can give back to their communities. I met Calvin Kong today, an Aboriginal doctor, an ear, nose and throat surgeon, who understands just how important it is to give young kids opportunities early in life through appropriate interventions when it comes to ear health. When young children can't hear, they can't learn language skills, they can't learn at school, they're behind the 8 ball right from the very start. Simple things that we can do to ensure that we close the gap. So in finishing, let me just say that this is an opportunity for a new way forward, and it's my great hope that the government, the opposition, indeed the entire Parliament will take up this challenge. And please know that the Greens will be with you every step of the way.